And I'm talking about currencies, I'm talking about Bitcoin, I'm talking about equities, I'm talking about any type of investment. It is all a confidence game and it's all going to zero eventually. Even gold. Gold has a 5,000 year track record. Everything else, you're lucky to get 50 years on it, with the exception of real estate. Real estate will last a good amount of time, but you know, countries are going to war, being taken over, buildings are torn down, insurance, you know, or sorry, natural disasters wipe out a building. You might have the land behind it. Um, land can be seized. All these different things. It's all a confidence game in terms of it's all just a narrative, and nothing has inherent value, and no type of investment. Because if you look at it, like if everyone on the planet is dead, right, and you're the only person that exists, your gold, your equities, your quote unquote land that you own is of no value. The things that would be valuable to you would be food, clothing, shelter, technology, and if there's at least one woman on the planet, it would be very valuable. So those things are only valuable when you can trade them for something of value, a good or a service. The true value is goods, services, and people, and the types of relationships that you can have with people. And a lot of services really are just a relationship with a person. So those are the things that are of value. Everything else is just a narrative, it is a concept, and in many cases doesn't have any physical value or physical properties at all. Gold has physical properties, but the property is really just it's a rock. Okay, real estate, uh, buildings have properties, but you know, a currency is just a magical piece of paper that they created this ritual about. Stocks, you don't even have the certificates. That's some digits on a screen. Most currencies just, bits and bytes on a screen somewhere. And they're all based on narrative, which is why a government, the most important thing for any government is control of the narrative and control of the media, because it's all a narrative. The government itself is a narrative. The idea of a country is a narrative. The idea of any of these um, things that most people think are of real physical entities are just narratives with no physical existence. And if it is a physical existence, there has been a ritual placed on it to give it an existence beyond what it actually is. Like gold, for example, is a rock. But the narrative is it's gold, it's a 5,000 year track record, it's a store of value. Why is it a store of value? Because people believe that it is, and it's secure store of value because there's a 5,000 year track record. As opposed to currency, the US dollar's got a long track record, but only because people think it has value. Many other currencies, you're lucky to get 30 years on some of these currencies in Latin America before a reset or before, the currency is renamed or whatever that the case may be. So you hear a lot about, oh, Bitcoin has inherent value and gold doesn't, or gold has inherent value and Bitcoin doesn't, or currencies are worthless. I saw Peter Schiff recently saying, US dollar is worthless, it's going to become the Zimbabwe currency. Yet, he's only 5% in gold, and the rest of the investments he has are denominated in US dollars. He's not holding cash, but he's in equities and he's in, business ownership. And that's denominated in this so-called fiat currency that has become very popular to write off as trash, right? Reality is that's what you have to use to pay for something in America. In some cases, you can pay in Bitcoin. In El Salvador, you can pay in Bitcoin. In Panama, you can pay in Bitcoin for houses and stuff like that. So it is a currency in some countries, and I could see more of that happening in the future. But I could also see more regulation and less ability to use it, or less ability to convert it to various things. But it's no different than USD. And I know a lot of Bitcoin guys might get upset about this, um, or gold guys or equities guys. It's all the same thing. Um, Even Warren Buffett's dead wrong on this issue. He said he wouldn't trade, he wouldn't buy all the Bitcoin in the world for $25, which is absolutely brain dead. Okay, you could just sell it immediately and buy your equities, right? But that's how much he hates that particular narrative and refuses to give it um, legitimacy because in his mind, it's like, oh, it's inherently worthless. Whereas these equities that I own have inherent worth because they're based on companies and revenue and dividends. But the reality is, he's not owning the stocks physically. He's not even owning the paper certificates. And the only reason a company has value once it's gone public is because people believe it has value. And the value is tracked to revenue and dividends. But those are just arbitrary concepts that people denote value to, and therefore the price of the stock goes up because of that. Now, I'm not saying that revenue and dividends are arbitrary in the sense that they have no value. When you own a business, you want high revenue, high dividends. But when you own a public company, for that stock to go up, it is now, the company is now not about making money. It is about increasing shareholder value. And increasing shareholder value is based around revenue and dividends because that's what people believe increases the value, but that's just narrative. There's companies that have, Amazon was unprofitable for a decade. Netflix was unprofitable for a decade, but they were showing user traction. They were showing these other things. The narrative looked good. At the end of the day, once you go public and the main value about getting rich for the owners is increasing shareholder value, it's all about narrative. And if you actually think about what you own, like where is your money right now? It's in the cloud in some digits as a currency. It's in the cloud as some digits as Bitcoin. Um, it's in the cloud in terms of your real estate. Yes, because your documents for the title of that physical property you own, quote unquote, is stored in the cloud. You might have some physical backups of it, but the database for real estate is online. And even your gold, say you're holding it in a facility in Singapore, that's on an online database for the company where you would have to provide some KYC and do a video call and provide certain answers, and you're tracked in the database digitally to be able to access that gold. And when you actually want to spend that gold, you've got to convert it to a fiat currency, which is primarily digital and stored in the cloud. So the bulk of what you think your money and your wealth is stored in the cloud, in the ether, and it is a concept. It is a concept that other people believe in that allows you to give them whatever that store value is to cook, clean for you, and provide you with goods and services. And the game only works because other people believe in it. If everyone in the world had the knowledge that I'm trying to give to you right now, there really wouldn't be janitors when they see what the game actually is. Because most people think of these things as having inherent physical value as opposed to it's all just a fucking game. Okay, and the game is to get as much of the things that people have confidence in and then use that to get the things that you want whilst understanding that it is a narrative and that it is literally the money game. And I guarantee you the people at the top of the pyramid understand that. In fact, Donald Trump was quoted in his book, Think Big, and I'm not making a political commentary here, that business guys are streetwise and they understand that it's just a game. And the highest level business operators aren't really stressed about it because they're playing it like it's a game. It's confirmation right there. You can look up the quote in the book, Think Big. And the politicians approach it the same way. Um, and those are the guys that create the narrative. Okay, they create the narrative, so they certainly know that it's a narrative.